Okay, it is Wednesday, July 23rd, approximately 2:06 p.m., and this is a meeting of the Cuyahoga County Human Rights Commission. Madam Chair, if you would call the roll, please.
Roll call. We have Mr. Exbuler,
Present.
Mr. Chalupka,
Present.
Mr. McHale is not present at the time, but we have a quorum. We also have in attendance Councilman Schlepper, members of County Council staff. Welcome. We do not have any public comment signed in. Late entries are welcome. Seeing that we have no public comment, we can jump into the new business. First on the agenda, we want to welcome our new commissioner, Mr. Rob Chalupka. Technically, this is your second meeting that we're having. Nonetheless, welcome. We're glad to have you.
Thanks, I'm pleased to be here.
And as decided last time, you have been nominated by Mr. Exbuehler as the next chair. However, with Mr. McHale's absence, we are unable to vote today, but we will table that for next time. So you're the unofficial chair at the moment.
Well, thank you. I'll take the unofficial honor.
Okay. Diving into the main portion of our business, item 4C, the conversion therapy ban. 2 weeks ago at County Council, Councilman Schlepper introduced an ordinance for first reading, and it was referred to committee, to the Health, Human Services, and Aging Committee. Ordinance number 2025-0003, to amend some sections of the county code, including Chapter 15, which pertains to the Human Rights Commission, and specifically to introduce Chapter County Code 1501.08, which adds a prohibition of conversion therapy for minors and vulnerable adults. Again, this was referred to the Health, Human Services, and Aging Committee, which is meeting next Wednesday. And unless I'm wrong, the last session of council before the break will be August 5th. So this gives us some time. There was a robust public comment at the aforementioned council meeting, overwhelmingly in favor, and the council president also added his name as a co-sponsor.
Okay, well, I mean, we had, unfortunately, I wasn't able to attend the original council meeting, but I saw some of the highlights online, saw some of the insightful comments that people had, and as Victor said, pretty much everything was in support. We've all talked offline about, just kind of the general structure of this ordinance. And it seems like it's going to be great. I think we had a chance to offer our input just into some of the procedural aspects as to how any complaints that arose would come up through the commission, and it seems like all the concerns that we had, minor as they were addressed. And I think we'd be happy to have at least one of us in attendance at the committee meeting and or the council meeting to, express the commission's support and, enthusiasm to participate in getting this, in both getting it done and then, whatever may transpire, whatever complaints or any other action that comes up as a result, I think we'd be, proud to be a part of it. Chad, do you want to?
I just want to say, speaking for myself, it's a very welcome proposal. We're very excited about this, and we thank the council and Councilman Schlepper for your leadership in this area. From my thinking, it does at least two important things, and in terms of, as a matter of public policy, identifying and defining a problematic practice of conversion therapy, and then secondarily providing a process through the existing Human Rights Commission for reviewing such complaints. So we are grateful for the council's opportunity to us to provide our input and how we might be able to support that should it pass. And I suppose the only question that I might have at this time is what particular information and other support role that we as a commission may be able to have in the steps between now and as the legislative process moves forward.
I just had a couple of comments through the chair, if I can. First of all, thank you all for your work up to this point, advocating for this. Obviously, too, I think there's an appetite for it, you know, not even just across the county, but from other key leaders. Councilwoman Meredith Turner expressed her intent to co-sponsor the legislation. The county executive, his team also pulled me aside and said they would like to formally and publicly express their support for it as well as Council President Miller. So we've had some key stakeholders that are very much, you know, engaged with the process, and we're excited about that. I do know that the Health and Human Services is meeting at 1 o'clock next Wednesday. I've spoken with Council Vice President Yvonne Conwell and as well as all of my other colleagues about their thoughts about, concerns about, and really anything else that may come across the table. So I think we're going to have a really robust discussion. That's kind of the focus of that particular time for next week. I know we've got a couple other things, but I know this ordinance is going to be the focus. So I'm looking forward to some robust discussion. And then obviously we would have second reading that August 5th date. And then, you know, hopefully final passage would be when we come back after recess in early September. So that's kind of the trajectory of where it sits now, pending anything coming forward or any types of barriers or hurdles that could upend it, which it doesn't seem like there will be.
Okay. I know from the experience when the original human rights ordinance was passed, that was, the actual vote wasn't all that difficult, but there was a lot of public comment all over the place. Are you aware of any expressions of, you know, we've already seen some expressions of support. Have you heard anything about, you know, any resistance coming from any other parties?
I haven't heard anything, you know, and I, you know, come from a space where often, you know, you prepare yourself for folks that will be in opposition or have a variance in opinion, but we haven't had anything yet that I'm aware of, which is good. So I don't know if maybe the appetite has changed since the last time this was, you know, mentioned here at the county level, but we haven't had any types of negative, just more folks wanting to make sure that it's done properly and that we've, you know, dotted all the I's and crossed all the T's.
Okay, that's great. Anything else, Chad?
I just wonder if there's anything in terms of expertise that, or just, you know, the experience of the commission in processing other types of complaints that we could lend that could be supportive of this initiative, just from a, you know, how can we help inform the discussion for the stakeholders who need to cast their votes?
I think some of the public comment that happened, there were people from leadership positions all throughout the county, from the Stonewall Dems to different mental health advocacy, different agencies, social workers, things like that. So I've said to all of these stakeholders that, you know, come to the table, certainly during the Health and Human Services Committee, to talk about the real nuts and bolts, because it's really easy to politicize this. It's really easy to say, well, you know, it looks like A, B, C, or D. Hi there.
Oh, there he is.
We are now joined by Commissioner Mark McHale, and we can return to the chair discussion and vote once we are finished with this discussion. Welcome.
Hi, everyone.
Also joined by Awatef Assad from the Law Department.
Now I'm leaving. Nice to see everyone.
Good to see you.
Good to see you. We were just chatting about some of the stakeholders that have been involved, and we had public comment when this was introduced on the 8th. So just kind of where folks were, and we haven't really had any opposition up to this point. That may change. but just, you know, how we move forward until this is ready to be passed.
One thing about the conversion therapy, something that the commission might want to consider is our complaint form for this type of discrimination. Currently, it's housing, employment, and public accommodation. Not sure that this falls under, one of those three, but it might be something worth looking into on how we either maybe want to do like a specific complaint for this, or if we want to amend maybe the public accommodation, or however, it's just something that we should think about to make sure that this is included, because I don't think it's under any of our jurisdictions for those complaints.
Is that, Victor, is that something we can do under bylaws? In terms of
I
like, the
believe so, and
format of
I
that?
believe we had discussed that too.
Okay.
In terms of specifically naming that as one of the amendments to make to Chapter 15.
Right. Cool, because I wonder if, just in terms of like the form we have, like I don't think that necessarily needs to be a change to the ordinance for just the format of the form, if that's just our own internal choice of how that's laid out. 'Cause
Yes.
I mean, we'll talk about this, if and when the ordinance passes more concretely probably, but my initial thought is, I know some of the discussions, we figured a lot of the complaints might be brought on behalf of minors, because, I mean, that's a significant chunk of the people we're defining as victims of this. So maybe we do want a separate form, confidentiality concerns and stuff like that, just to maybe put the complainants more at ease.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a very good point. The commission's complaints and dealings are public record, but that is something to take account of, given that this would target minors. So that's something for us to look into internally and report on when the time comes. And we can also provide a brief to council and council staff, just to give you a rundown of how complaints come in and how we deal with them. We've had, to date this year, we've had 6 complaints already. We've referred them to the OCRC and EEOC. They vary in detail from just an individual's affidavit written, handwritten, to much more detailed. Yeah, this is the most we've had in a year so far, in the last 5 years almost. So I think those of us who have been here for a while and have seen this process, I think in the last 10 months or so, we've seen an uptick both of calls that Callie is receiving, that she refers to individuals who end up not filing something, but we help them in some way because they see the number and they call, and both in complaints that we direct individuals and provide some more clarity. So we can definitely report that we're seeing more traffic coming to this commission from individuals in the community. And I think your efforts, Councilman, and just some general awareness that we did last year is starting to take some root.
I was going to say through the chair, I think that's actually really exciting. I think this is an opportunity to elevate this entire body. Even outside the tenets of this particular, piece of legislation, obviously there are so many other components of what this commission, can do. And I think if there's ways that we can provide more clarity or educate the public about what it is that this commission can do, what the reporting structure looks like. So what I was going to say is, in my own committee that I chair, the operations committee, perhaps in the next couple of months, we could put together a presentation, just operationally, to come if, you would like to come and just share with us what the commission does, the mission and vision of the commission, and then perhaps, operationally what it is that you'd like to accomplish, educating the public on how, if they need to make a complaint, what that looks like, what the process is. Because I think in so many of these spaces we've seen, a need for what I'll call public education, right? So people don't know what they don't know. So when they're out in the community and perhaps something happens, and it could be really any type of human rights violation, how do I report this? What are the steps? Who do I reach out to? So I think a little bit of a clarity is kindness approach, you know, and elevating this commission. If we're seeing increased traffic, it's probably because people are starting to see and hear about maybe even just this or other components in the past. So I would be happy to support that kind of approach and educate people if you're all amenable to perhaps putting together I don't want to give you more work with your already busy schedules, but I think if we can shed some light and have some more visibility on this commission, I think it could really, even if we just help 10 more people a year, you know?
Well, and actually, I mean, it's one of the things on our agenda for today, and we've talked kind of generally about potentially, you know, kind of revisiting our ordinance and primarily the procedural angles, and just see, like, you know, with some of the complaints that we have coming in, we're noticing a couple of little wrinkles here and there that might be easier to smooth out. Is that something that you think would end up in your committee if it's a procedural amendment, or do you think that would end up elsewhere? Because, I mean, we could potentially kill two birds with one stone that way.
I think if it's procedural, yes. I think certainly not if it's a policy shift or change, but if it's procedural, I don't know. Would you say that's probably?
I think it could go either Health and Human Services or your committee.
Okay.
Okay.
I think Council President would be able to name either one.
Okay.
Okay. I think mostly what we've talked about is just like improving the wording of some of the complaint procedures and making sure that the full gamut of what's included, what's protected under the ordinance is included in all of the, you know, spaces for what kind of complaint we're going to take, stuff like that.
Sure.
Okay. Well, when we get there, we'll let you know.
And we do have existing educational materials that we can update, and it's a matter of us getting out into the community and finding, you know, whether it's local bar associations, community organizations. We were out in Lakewood last year, and the community center. And those events seem to be well attended, and we can do more of them. And that's how we'll get that information out.
Sure.
Even an opportunity to, you know, use our marketing teams, use our communication teams here within the county to, you know, face outward a little bit more to the community. I know we do that with pretty much everything else.
Mhm.
So just, and that's something that I could certainly advocate for with folks that handle all of our communication. You know, can we engage social media? Can we do an email campaign? Can we do certain things, you know? And it doesn't have to be relegated to, you know, for example, Pride Month, right? You know, this could be something that's, you know, as a reminder, we offer these services. And it's like anything else, right? You know, people have to dig, you know, and if we can find a way to say yes, right? If we can remove those barriers to access to this particular commission, much like we try to do with so many other spaces, because access is usually the problem. So-
Right, and seeing that, I think, you know, we've talked about how some of these protections at the county level are becoming more important with changes at the state and federal levels. So I know that, you know, for instance, some of the more publicized Supreme Court rulings and things like that, you know, I think we've probably all seen people get a little nervous about that, and then you need some amount of reassurance that this doesn't, at the moment, directly affect state law or county ordinances or local ordinances or anything like that. Those are still in place. In some instances, it doesn't even affect anything else nationally besides the parties that are being dealt with. But, you know, if you see a headline just to the effect of, you know, Supreme Court outlaws such and such, then, you know, that creates that kind of concern. So I think one thing that we can do is be responsive in educating people. You know, I know some of the advocacy organizations do a lot of this, and I think that the county has probably even more outreach just to be able to say, hey, you know, in Cuyahoga County, you're still protected under the law, things like that. So That's great. Mark, did you have any questions for Councilman? About the-
Sorry I'm late and
Anything else on the?
Yes, we can quickly revisit the chair discussion. As has been mentioned, Mr. Chaluka has been nominated by Mr. Exbuler, our previous chair.
I so move.
You have to second it. All right, and that's having no other members for any possible nays, the ayes have it. Congratulations, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. This time I'll accept the official honor. But no, thank you all. Appreciate it. I'll try to do, as I've said sort of informally to people, I come into this role with a lot of ideas and things I want to explore, and whoever the chair was, I was gonna end up bugging them about it anyway. So it's pretty efficient for me to just bug myself. So, but thank you.
I was going to share too, real quick, if I could just make a comment to, a comment in thanks for your work. I know this is often thankless work, just in that, it's kind of like playing whack-a-mole a little bit. You see these things, you hear about these things, and then ultimately, trying to uncover or figure out the legal way to proceed. And so I'm deeply appreciative, just as a member of council, as all of you know, as well. I'm openly gay, so this is something that's near and dear to my heart, just in the general tenets of, I ran on this idea that Cuyahoga County for everyone, right? And I think it's a really simple ideology. If every person in this community doesn't have a seat at the table, we're doing it wrong, and that, while it seems simple, is often a really difficult lift. And I understand that this type of legislation puts all of you in the crosshairs a little bit and on the front lines. I'm guessing you wouldn't have signed up for this had you not considered those pieces. But in doing that, I am deeply appreciative of your efforts, to that end. And if there are things that those of us on council, our broader team can do to facilitate, remove barriers, and elevate this commission, please let us know. Because I would love to see this become an incredibly robust and active commission as we move forward. So whatever you all believe is going to help move us in that direction, I'm certainly happy to support those efforts. So I just wanted to make sure that that was clear to everybody as well.
Thank you, Councilman. Anything else?
Any miscellaneous business?
I just wanted to mention the Pride events that I think at least Chad and I were able to attend last month. The Cleveland one is nuts. It's great to see that kind of turnout and just a ton of people, and it seemed like there was a heavy traffic throughout the entire couple hours I was there. But in a way, like, I attended two more, the Brecksville Broadview Heights event and Cleveland Heights. And both of those were smaller and felt more like kind of a town, just like a town fair type situation. And, we were able to, I know some people in the actual Brooklyn Pride organization that they had a very active merchandise stand, and they were handing out flyers with all of their upcoming events. I gave them our flyers as well. So each one of everybody who bought a t-shirt or a flag or whatever else that they had for sale, they got one of our flyers with the little QR code stuff. So Cleveland Heights, didn't quite have the same distribution network, but I at least got to, it was a newer event and got to get out and, meet some folks in the area, and seemed to get good responses to, basically just increasing awareness and visibility for the commission.
With regard to raising awareness, I know I forwarded you guys an email about the county fair. HHS did reach out saying that they will have a table So if anybody's interested in attending, Victor and I are definitely going to put some flyers out, but anybody is welcome to attend the table as well. Either if you're there or want to work a shift, let me know.
That's terrific, and I second the chair's comments on these events. Just having a presence, being seen, being able to shake people's hands. And there's a certain distance, like when a case comes in, we can't hear about your case now, there's a process. We have an ethical process for receiving and processing complaints. But for just the educational component and that we are seen as parts of the community, just being visible and having those conversations and having those resources to hand people with more information, it's so important. And I look forward to the August events and at the county fair too. That's terrific.
Also, on the flyer note, I am working on getting some ideas together to send to communications to maybe have us have an additional flyer so we can hand out multiple. Sometimes if you see something new, even if it's the same information, it looks better. So I'm going to work on that. I did get Mark and Robert's bios uploaded on our website. Still working on your email address. But then my next goal is to revamp the website to make it more user-friendly. So we're getting there. Slowly.
Very much appreciated.
Any other business? Going once, going twice. Well, this meeting is adjourned at